Lucky I did get my hair cut, isn't it?
I know, that's why we want you on camera, because you look good today.
Lucky.
Okay, I'm good to go.
Cool.
I, like many people my age, we never thought that we would be able to be our true selves. So I lived a life that I thought that I had to live, and got to a certain point where I, acknowledged that I couldn't do this forever, and that, I had to be my true self. And so I found it difficult to find the right sort of spaces where I felt included or that I enjoyed. And I think Feast was one of those first events that really stood out to me. Watching my first Pride March, which I watched from the side the first time, but attending a few of those Feast festivals, and it just felt like home. It felt like, here's my space, here's my people. And it was probably some of those first times where I actually felt that I could really truly relax and just be myself and not have to think about anything.
Do you feel that Feast was a part of your coming out journey, or impacted your coming out journey?
I think it certainly just helped the coming out journey in a lot easier fashion, as I say, because I could just come along and I could really be myself. The only really other, there was only one or two other places in Adelaide that you could attend as a queer person and probably really feel like you could be themselves. But whether that's your place that you feel that comfort, I think there's a lot of those clubs and pubs, there's still, some anxiety around that, whereas you could just go along and you could attend an event and you didn't have to, if you wanted to, you didn't have to interact with people, but you could as well. But it just allowed you to, be in that space and be comfortable.
And why do you keep going back, and why do you keep attending?
How can you not go back? I think that's one of the great things about our community, is we just have such amazing artists. We have such amazing stories. I'm a person, I like to travel and I like to visit different cultures, and I like to see the difference in people. I think that's the interesting aspect of life. It's the differences that I find interesting. So I love hearing people's stories, and as I say, our community does it really well. We know how to party, we know how to create great artwork, we know how to perform. It's something that we do well.
And you've contributed to the festival this way by contacting me and saying that you'd love to see a particular film in the festival this year, and that's Equal the Contest, which is a documentary about sport. So tell us why you loved that film, why you want it to be in Feast. Talk about your affiliation with football, and feel free to talk about Rainbow the Crows and why you started that as well.
Yeah, so I'm really excited to have this movie as part of the, well, what's it called again?
Equal the Contest.
No,
the Adelaide Queer Film Festival.
Yes.
The launch.
I'm really excited to have this movie as part of the Adelaide Film Festival, as part of Feast. Once again, it's a different story that a lot of people may not have heard before. I have a very big passion for pride in sport, so queer people being involved in sport. I'm the founder of the Rainbow Crows, so I have a big passion about AFL and in particular AFLW. I think the AFLW is an amazing space where all queer people are welcome and included. But there's also a lot of similarities between the discrimination and the barriers that women in sport have faced over the years that's quite hits home with me as a queer person. And so that movie is about a group that decided to form an AFLW club that they wanted to do on their own entity, and not be associated with a men's football team where they need to train the men and educate the men on why it's important to be inclusive, and the journey that they took to do that. I have seen the movie, and it is really great, and I encourage people to go along. And it is one of those barriers where queer people, particularly non-binary and trans people, are not unfortunately welcome quite often in sport. And so this is a really great positive story to share. I can talk about an experience that I had that caused me to stop being visible, and then I had a big gap in that journey. And then when I had a family member who was part of our community, I went, hang on, I can't allow this. And I've gone to the other extreme where I've become over visible, and why then it's so important for our community to be visible. I don't know if that...
Absolutely. How would you like to tell that story?
Yeah, I'll just
Okay, for it.
talk about it. I think visibility of our queer community is really, really important, and I think quite often it's underestimated. I've certainly had a journey with that aspect myself. When I was in my late 20s, because yes, I am a few years old. At the time I was living on the Gold Coast, and I'd been out for a night, and I was wearing a reasonably standard outfit, but I had this black mesh type shirt that had this red metallic flicker in it. Certainly back, 25 or so years ago, certainly not something that you would see any straight man wear. So it may not have been really obvious, but I think it was quite reasonable that, I was quite possibly a gay man. Anyway, I'd been out. As I was driving home, I decided to stop and go for a bit of a walk by this waterway in Queensland. And just went for a bit of a walk because it was hot and whatever, and happened to walk past a young couple, a male and a female, and I just smiled at them as I walked past, and the man suddenly turned around and said, what are you looking at? And I was sort of taken aback a little bit, and then he proceeded to, what are you looking at, you faggot, and proceeded to sort of start, with some a variety of different things that weren't very nice. And I was sort of just stunned, and I said, fuck off, mate, and I just kept walking. And next thing he said, you better start running because I'm going to come and get you. And he did then start running. So I just ran, like I didn't know what this person was going to do. And he did catch up to me, and I got a pretty hard hit to the side of my head, and I just kept running. And luckily he did actually stop after that one hit where he hit me. And it was just purely because of the shirt that I was wearing that he just saw me. I don't even know what, I certainly didn't feel like I was a threat. I smiled at them. They obviously looked like a straight couple. But after that particular incident, I never wore that shirt ever again. And for quite a number of years, I didn't wear anything that would make it obvious that I was queer in any way, shape or form. I dealt with a lot of trauma and nightmares for quite a long time from that experience. And it wasn't until probably about 18 years later where one of my nephews at the time came out, and it was at that point where I went, I've always tried to sort of be quiet and not be visible, but I didn't want my nephew to experience the sort of thing that I had experienced. And it was soon after that that I actually started the Rainbow Crows, and I said, I always find this one a bit hard. I'm going to be visible for those who can't be. That's why I'm so passionate about our community. And so we have to stand up. We have to celebrate. And we do have to continue to be visible for those who can't. Sorry about that.
Oh, thank you so much for sharing that. You're actually making me cry. I'm just so touched. I'm so grateful that you felt comfortable to share that with me.
Yeah, thank you.
We're going to go back in there with teary-eyed and people like, I don't want to go in next.